Today is Tuesday and we crammed in a customer repair of an Amstrad 901 genuine Japanese one off video yesterday after doing the Midland 42 revisited. I just had to get down some of the sets that are in for service. So today we've got a Binatone, dustbin tone, whatever you want to call it, Route 66, and this is immaculate, isn't it? Now, we don't care whether they're brilliant sets because they're not, but they're an unusual set and there's two versions. So let's here we go, fingers crossed it's the late version, because if it's the early version it has the PLL02A and a triple setup synthesizer, and I really should charge more for those, but you know, I'm too kind-hearted. I've got to keep an eye on the time. I've made sure there is a clock at the side of me with 15 minutes to start this video this morning, and then I've got to go and do some shopping for one of the elderly parishioners, Mrs. Too Much Money. Mrs. Too Much Money, I banked a cheque for her for 400 and something thousand pounds after her sister died, and she says crossly, she says, "Now I've got too much money." So I put my hand out. She says, "No, it doesn't work like that." But no, I bet it doesn't. So her only worry in life, and she's 90, is she's got too much money, and I'm gonna be going to shop at Marks and Spencer's for her. In Grantham, there's a food-only Marks and Spencer's, and you know, I'll probably spend £90 of her money on stuff you could get for 30 quid anywhere else. The staff are lovely there, but the pricing structure, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And I thought, well, while I'm there, I'll get some baked potatoes, you know, some baking potatoes. And while I was there, I ought to find a power lead for this. And there just weren't any which were large enough to make an adult male meal, you know, these little potatoes, which, you know, little petite things, 3 inches, and you think, well, and they were, you know, arm and a leg as well, cost-wise. So I stopped by Morrison's and picked up some Yorkshire-sized baked potatoes. Well, we're not really getting anywhere. Mrs. Too Much Money, there you are. No. Right, found a 3-pin power lead. I'm not encouraging customers to send in mics and that, but there we go. What have we got? What have we got? It's the late version, and it's the LC7136, which is the fatter package, electrically identical to the 7137. So thank goodness for that. It's the late version. Now these are made in Japan. I did one of these, I've done both versions before, probably 2014, and somebody put a comment that I didn't adjust those. Well, that's the 54 meg trap. You don't adjust those unless you've got a spectrum analyzer. And when I'm using bench 1, there's a spectrum analyzer on bench 2, there's a spectrum analyzer on bench 3, and we've got 5 benches. So you know, I'm not made of money, and the one on bench 2 is you know, about 30 years old and gets us by. Anyway, bench 2 has the diagnostic oscilloscope. Different benches have different features. Bench 4 doesn't have any test instruments other than a meter and a range of the peak testers. You know, this type of thing. It has the entire range on that bench, and that's the bench Mr. Chippy uses to do his guitar amplifier service work and some of the other jobs I ask him to do, such as changing power leads and that. Well, this is absolutely immaculate. It's a credit to its owner. So we've got a standard new mic here, hopefully. It's standard Cybernet wiring. You'll be pleased to know. The only other set you see with this case is a Eurocom, is it the DX40? There's the one we've covered recently, and then there's the one that looks like the Route 66, so that's the only set you see. And Eurocom, that was the one done by Zycom at Ripley, Derbyshire. When I went in 1983, they denied all knowledge of ever having done any CBs at all. I just found that bizarre. I wanted a bit of service info. I wanted to buy some service info. But no, we've never been involved in CB. No. How bizarre. Right, what we need is the service manual. I cannot do anything with these without. But what we'll just do is we'll just put picture-in-picture on, and we'll see what it's doing on transmit. And actually it's doing 3.2 watts. So more than full scale on there. 3.2 watts, deviation, what we on? Wallow, whoa dear, wallow is 3.5. That needs to come down, and let's see what we can get out of the receive. So I think I'll write these down on this occasion because it's an interesting set. It's not a manual we have out every day. I will have to go and find that. Right, I've just written on a second-hand bit of MOT paper what we've found, but the frequencies should be 27.79125. It's 78686. It's so low, I'm beginning to wonder if there's a malfunction. What we'll just do, we'll look at the synod meter. Now, with it being on frequency, it won't actually affect the receiver because it's as wide as the barn door on this kind of set. Well, it shouldn't do anyway. Let's have a look. 79125. What I've just done, I've put the signal generator on the same as transmit. If I press transmit, I'll just turn that down a bit. If I press transmit, we've got 27.68684, and to match, I've put the signal generator on the same because it was sounding a bit nasty, even on the set as wide as this is. So we've got a similar frequency, so that's fair. So we'll look at what we've got. That's actually very good. Very, very good. .84 microvolts for 20. 0.37 microvolts for 12, and 0.31 microvolts. So it's very good. So this one's issue is, apart from the deviation, is it's miles off frequency. So let's see whether we can just pull that up, or whether the crystal's gone for a Burton. Well, before we start looking at synthesizer snags, the best thing to do, I think, is to whip the crystal out. I mean, they can drop with age, and they can drop so far that they're unusable. Probably going to get 2 a year, and we do about 350 CB sets a year. I think, looking at some of the comments, I don't think people realise we are actually in, as far as two-way radio goes, we are actually in business two-way radio. used to be called private mobile radio, but it isn't anymore because they keep changing the name. And if you say PMR, people think of those half-watt 446 meg walkie-talkies, you know. So that's what we do. We do business radio, and we do CB radio because we felt that there weren't any professional engineers who were doing them. So, oh my goodness, this feels awful. Let's make sure we're turned off. I think the crystal's actually physically broken. I don't know how it's working. So we'll get our crystal tester out. Now it's fallen apart internally. You can see it. That's the snag. It's broken. So the wire's hanging on, but it's open to the environment. So let's put a new crystal in. Oh, they're crystal filters. They're no good to us. Bit low. Okay, so it's not an easy service manual to work from because the instructions, it's a good service manual. The instructions for alignment refer to the early version of the PLL02A. So although it's got the circuits and the layout and that's the layout, which is very, very difficult to see. And it's got nice voltage charts and that. What it doesn't have is the direct instructions for the later version, which is what this radio is. And because I can't read the layout, it's difficult to see what's what on the board. Because the point about this radio is it's not now faulty. It's not like it's been messed with. It's a set that has unfortunately had a part go down. That's now been replaced and the set will work. We'll nevertheless need to align it to some degree. Now it's just dropped slightly. This is now 4 hours later. Oh, well, let's pull this up. So we'll now go over to the meter and very close to 4 watts output there. Just going to check it's working on 140. it is. That's 3.7 watts. Okay, we'll look at the spectrum analyzer and then we'll see if we need to adjust any of those three. Go over to 55 megs and we'll measure what we've got at 55 megs. It's actually minus 52, so it's about there. Minus 57. So what I'm doing, I'm looking at the power meter and the spectrum analyzer at the same time. We're getting that 4 watts, and we've also got minus 56 point something on the spectrum analyzer, which I'm not showing you. I did press the button, but I must have pressed the wrong one. So there we are on the spectrum analyzer with minus 57 on the on 55.370430 megs. Now fundamental, which we'll go back to, is that one there. So that's gone through those and we're now doing a full 4 watts on the radio and with the second harmonic within what we're permitted. That'll be low power then. Is that on the front? It is. So looking to 400 milliwatts. It's 500 and something. Yeah. So we'll go back to that, and we've got 400 milliwatts just there on the 3 watt scale. So we need to, that's going to be squelch over there, I would think. We're going to have to find deviation. Let's get the little oscillator out. So it's reading 3, it's 3.5 with a voice peak. It's going to be one of these 3, so let's have a look at that one. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Well, it can't be that one, surely. No. See that one at the back, which I've just discovered? Yes, it is. Wallow. 1, 2. That's excellent. That's brought that down. So we've now got 4 presets that we don't know much about. So they say the signal meter on receive is VR2, but that's going to be for the early version VR2. I'm sure it is. We'll see if we can find it anyway. So I'll put S9 on the radio. If we move over to receive, it's one about S8 there. So which one of these do you think it's going to be? S meter. It says VR3. And that says VR3 on it. You know what? It's correct. Okay. I think we'll do the squelch level while we're finding our way around these. And it's that one. So we're going to turn the squelch to full. It's coming in at 30 microvolts. That's it. 100 microvolts bringing the squelch in. Let's put the attenuator controls on so you can see that. 100 microvolts. Squelch is at full. And there we are. So let's see where we are on minimum. Turn the signal generator off. Park it at 0.3. Turn the squelch down. Now I've got one of these sets that doesn't do a thing unless you've got a signal going into it. So set it as the threshold. We're going to have to back the squelch off because customers don't like it when they do this. With the squelch back at full, we'll have it coming in at 30 microvolts instead as a better compromise. Set the squelch. And the minimum squelch is coming in at 2.5 microvolts, leaving at 1 microvolt. These are set that the squelch lets them down on, so it's not as strong as I would like, otherwise you end up with it never unlocking at the other end. So that's covered squelch. So we've done that, we've done VR3. So that's VR2. For full power is the preset there. power set for the low power 400 milliwatts is there, and the preset for the RF meter is in fact VR4. So that's sorted out. I was trying to sort out which some of these presets were, and it's difficult trying to work with the early version of the manual when I've got the late version radio. So VR3 was S meter, so we're on that one, and VR2 is squelch, which is that one. VR1 is also squelch. That's interesting. So VRT is squelch open, VR1 is squelch open. Right. So squelch fully clockwise. Okay, so we've got this to 100 microvolts. So what about the other end where it doesn't open at all? So is that on this one? It is. Do you know they're right? So your tight end is that one, and the sensitivity is this one. Wow. Right. So now turn it back to full. That's 100 microvolts. Turn it to minimum. Set threshold. Switch on signal generator. We've now got sensitivity coming in at 0.9 of a microvolt and leaving it 0.3. So we've got 100 microvolts on full squelch with that preset, and we've got it coming in where I just said 0.9 with VR1. So squelch is VR1 and VR3. I never read that, never understood it or whatever, so that's brought those two in. What a strange set. I think we're there now with the presets. Now we'll just go through the receiver. So receive is, the front end is T1, 2 and 3. I just cannot read the service manual for that. That's 3. That's 3. That 1, 2 and 3. So there, and there. So let's get that signal generator on and the synod meter. No improvement. This is the wrong tool as well. No improvement. No visible improvement. So that's going to be the IF. And then if we put the signal generator on 100 microvolts and we'll look at that, that'll be the detector. Possibly a slight improvement there. So that's covered everything. That's the early stages, which is for the transmit, that's fine. So we're looking at set high power, set low power, set RF meter, set S meter, set squelch full, set squelch minimum. Oh, and deviation at the back. So let's go back to our piece of paper. We'll turn that down. So we'll go to transmit for a start. Full 4 watts. If I can just pop that up another fraction. So those of you interested, there's 4.6 maximum. There we are, spot on the 4. It's drawing 1.24 amps at that. And we're at 13.8 volts. I'll just drop the radiator to 12.4, the power supply, and just tell you what difference that makes. 12.4, still doing 3.4 watts. Go back to 13.8, 4 watts. So it actually makes less difference to transmit than many sets, and it easily does 4 watts. So now the customer's got 0.8 watts more, you might get another 100 yards. We've done the deviation. Wow, yeah. We've done the frequency. And now we'll look at the siner readings. So we'll see if we can still do 20. We can. We'll say 0.9. As ever, we're between scales. 12 dB synad, 0.35. For 10 dB synad, 0.32 on that scale. .305 on that scale. So we'll say that's 0.31. So I mean the sensitivity is already excellent, and so there's been no improvement. I'm just jiggling with the figures around here. I could go through that again and give you something else, but so that's fine. So sensitivity's there. We know the squelch is now set. It's probably the first time I've set the squelch properly. What a job! And what a good outcome for the customer. Mind you, the crystals don't come free. Right, we'll solder the speaker back on. I remember the multi-wholesaler macro. I remember I'm in the UK, in England itself, and in about 1984 they cleared final remaining stocks of these at £5 plus VAT each. Now, before you think there were bucket loads of them, there weren't. I never got one. I went. They cleared all CB sets at £5 each. And I got a Alba 2-channel hand portable. What else did I get? Do you know, I think that's all I got. I went to the Sheffield branch, and that's all I got. But a mate of mine got a Fidelity 1000, and I was aware they did have these. But yeah, they didn't have bucket loads of them. It was like, you know what they do? They have these flyers, and they don't actually have that many in stock of the special offers. And if you don't camp out on the doorstep, but they were £5 each plus VAT. So I think VAT was 17.5% at the time. Just for the laugh, we'll see which one is connected to negative. It doesn't really matter unless you've got a pylon at the same time. Number one, is it a floating chassis? So connect. No, it's not. It is a floating chassis. So that's Earth. That's not Earth. So is either these connected to chassis? Well, the blue one's not, and the brown one is. So the brown is negative, which is kind of interesting because in the UK on mains wiring, it's the brown is live. So we put brown to negative. Blue to positive. If we'd have had the Mark 1 version, this video would have taken a good 20 minutes more. I think I showed you the scrap version of one of these. I think it was this. Yeah. So this still says PO. It says PO16 on this board. And it's PO19 on the later board. It's PO16, PO19, and when you look in here, big difference is you've got 3 crystals, and all this has to be set. You've got your 10.24, and then you've got your transmit mixer, and then you've got the receive mixer, which you do with a marker oscillator. So for a lot of people without big facilities, that's very difficult set to set up. On the back, it's 018538, and on the back of this, it's what? 8538A. And that's November 1981, and this is October 1981 when it was manufactured. So that's the difference, because some of you might want the earlier version just for your completeness of your collection, and that's the difference. So the Mark II is the A version. I think they're a smart looking set, which is smarter than I am because I just put the lid on the wrong way around. They're different, got a different layout. There's no other set, as I say, apart from the Eurosonic, which Eurosonic, did I say that? Eurocom. And I can't remember which version the Eurocom is. I know we've got one somewhere. So we'll put the screws in this. So we're going to be doing tests for adjacent channel rejection. That's your bleed over thing. In the future, we're going to have to use test bench 4A. There's other things happening on there at the moment, so we can't. And it'll just be a matter of taking the camcorder to that bench. This is the only bench which has got inbuilt video equipment. And look at that, not a screw missing either. I've got a box up there which a Route 66 came in, and it's got a macro price label on it. So that could have been one of the clearance ones. It may not have been. And it was absolutely immaculate. It was when I bought off eBay Spares Repairs about 4 or 5 years ago. And it wasn't that expensive. And when I opened it up, the blooming heatsink was missing. That's the one again. So the heatsink, which carries the audio IC there, was missing, and there's absolutely nothing I could do without getting a scrap set. And that's why the heatsink's missing out of this scrap set, because it's gone in my Route 66. Right, so I may as well test the test. I may as well switch off the test set. I'll tell you what we will do. We'll get the Zetagi meter out. So it's exactly 4 watts. We've all seen it on the Marconi test set, which is selective. And on this rate, it's 5 watts. And that tells us there's not much in spurious emissions. This is at least 10% fast. So whatever, if there weren't any spurious emissions, that would read 4.5. So the fact there's another half coming out is the spurious emissions. and we've done that, and it's within spec. So what we'll now do is we'll put it on the aerial, and as ever, we'll see if there are any good buddies or even some bad buddies out there. And we can tell the bad buddies who are off frequency normally, but with a set as wide as a barn door like this, they'll all come through like good buddies. Right. One Anna Roger. We'll see what Mr. Chippy sounds like later on. Thank you for watching the Binatone Route 66 Mark II.